Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Jason McKie here. Yes, it is a Thursday, but listen, Courtney's over in London. There's time changes. They don't know when to sleep, when to wake up. Everybody, cats chasing dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dog. There's pandemonium going on over in London, J-Mac. So we got you here on a Thursday. Just move past it. J-Mac. There's pandemonium on a Thursday, so we got Jason McKie in here to kind of settle the waters and preview the Chicago Bears game. First big news, Bears may be without a very big piece on this offensive line, but they've kind of been without him. And is there a gem in this O-line room that maybe we've been overlooking and the Bears have been overlooking the entire time? We'll talk about that. Also, got to take a look at kind of this game in as a whole, right? Are the Bears coming in this game with a little bit of a disadvantage being in London? This is new for them. Last time we were there, 2019, I believe, playing the Oakland. Were they still Oakland?
The Buccaneers, wasn't it? When it Tampa?
Were they Vegas? No, it was the Raiders for sure, but I don't remember if they were Oakland or Vegas. I never that time when they left is always very vague to me. But playing the Raiders nonetheless. And listen, we're gonna break all of that down and more on today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. J-Mac, what's going on, man? How you feeling? You ready for this Friday? Big game for you this Friday, man.
Yeah, big game, man. We're a team that's, just like the Bears and a lot of these other NFL teams, we're at a point where we have to have a must-win as well. Fighting to get in the playoffs. Let a couple games slip away. Lost another one last week to another very good team. So every Friday in our conference is like a playoff game. There's so many good teams that have so many great traditions and great coaches. So every game's a playoff game, so it makes it fun. It's always a great environment. Friday night football here in the state, so we're looking forward to it. Another big challenge. We will have the cool thing is we'll have a couple colleges will be visiting our game, looking at some of our players. Okay. So I know the kids are excited about that, and as coaches, we're excited too. So we're prepared, we're ready to go, and we're on the road, so ready to go get this W.
It's gonna be one to see. Can't wait. This is a big season for you, my guy. I like seeing what you're doing with the younger, the freshmen and the sophomores that you got on your team. I like how you're building this thing up, man. J-Mac, man, we're not gonna have him long, y'all. Enjoy it while you got him. The college game is coming. The college game is gonna come calling, bro. There's a HBCU with your name on it.
Yeah, we'll see, man. The good thing about it is high school, you can make your own schedule when you're the coach. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. You're in college, man. I was in college for a year, and it was like, man, you don't make your own schedule. You're nonstop, no free time, no nothing. So that's the beauty about high school. You make your own schedule, but I think you touch the kid more. You know what I mean? You can really shape and mold a kid, not just through football and you impact them through the game, through life, but you impact them through by way of football. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, I'm developing this kid as a football player, but I'm really impacting his life as a human being, as a person, grooming him into a young man. And that's what I like about it. And we have a good staff that's been able to do that. So we're raising great football players, but we're raising great men at the same time.
Yeah, you had an opportunity last weekend to do something special, which I thought was pretty cool. We ended up meeting up at the coffee shop before we ended up doing the post game show. And you said you got to see one of the kids that ended up coming through your program and stuff like that, playing for the Carolina Panthers. Unfortunately, he had to get that work, but living out his dream of playing in the NFL.
Definitely, man. Like when you're coaching and you have opportunity to coach and mentor and train these kids, it's not just kids in your own program, it's kids in other programs as well. So I had a young man who had an opportunity to coach him on my 7-on-7 teams back when I was doing that. A kid who actually trained at my gym a little bit, played for Simeon. A buddy of mine was a head coach there. Did a really good job with those kids. And this kid had an opportunity to go play at Washington State, got drafted by the Carolina Panthers in the 5th round and ended up starting at nickel for the Panthers last Sunday. So it was awesome to see him play, to be right there, seeing him play, to conversate with him before and after the game and just watch him live out his dream. You see him put in a lot of hard work firsthand, and then you actually see it. You see that hard work turn that dream into reality for him. So it was awesome. It was awesome to see that. And that's the beauty of being a high school coach, being a mentor. You really get to impact these kids, but you also have an opportunity to see them live out their dream. And that was one of the opportunities I got to see last Sunday.
I love it, man. I love hearing about people being able to accomplish their dreams and overcoming all that, dog. Like that's what it's all about. So, I had to get that story on the pod there, man. That was just too cool to let it just go past, especially with everything you do at the high school level, man. Seeing somebody be able to get to the NFL from that's always a great experience. Let's talk a little NFL though, J Mac. We got a little London game, a little early morning football. We got to wipe the sleep out of our eyes.
I'm telling you, man.
And what time you getting up for this game, J Mac? Oh well, you're here.
I'm doing
Wait a minute. Hold on, I just thought about that.
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not across the pond eating dogs and cats like you said earlier, man.
I didn't say they're doing it over there. I didn't say they're doing it. Apparently that's going on right in our own backyard, so we gotta watch out for that. But no. So who's doing sideline? You just know sideline guy?
Yeah, no. So I'll be doing more of in-game analyzation, breaking down things schematically and stuff like that. Also doing the pregame show, me, Briggs, and Sylvie. So that starts at 6. So I'll be down at the station like about 4:30, 5 a.m.
Oh man, that's gonna be a great time, dog. I love that. I love that because now you actually get to see that TV angle and just be like, well, let me tell you something. That was not good.
That play sucked by Shane Waldron right there. Don't ever call that again. Ball that up and throw it out of your playbook. Okay.
That's the tight end screen. That is I'm begging him to get rid of the tight end screen. He's only calling one a week.
Let's not throw a screen to Rome. Let's not throw a screen to DJ. Let's not even throw a screen to Keelan. Let's throw it to, no disrespect, Cole. I think those guys are a little bit more fleet of foot than you are, but let's throw it to Cole. Like, I'd rather have Cole blocking for me than, no disrespect, DJ, than DJ. DJ, You're not really a blocker. Like, you're a tough guy. Respect the game, but, it should be flipped. I don't know.
The only time I literally said this because I was watching back, and of course, right, you watch the all-22, and that tight end screen comes up, you just go, oh god, here we go. Like, why I don't even get why we call it, because it doesn't get anything. Actually, Cole's did this week. Cole's tight end screen actually did get, I think he got 8 yards on that. But the one thing I said the only way I would ever want to run this is if you run like in my mind, I just called it a tank formation. You just put 3 big dudes in front of another big dude and go, hey, we just gonna run you over and get we need 3 yards. We're just gonna run you over in this situation. We got Mercedes Lewis, Gerald Everett's catching it, Cole Kmet's blocking. Throw Doug Kramer out there. I don't know. You just signed Tommy Sweeney back. Bears just signed back Tommy Sweeney. We do a 4 tight end set out here and just run a little tank formation on the outside. That's the only time I maybe want to see it. And even then, you don't got to call it.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the one thing, speaking of formations, I think when you look at this offense and what Shane Waldron's done, throughout the entire season, but especially the last few weeks in which the offense has finally started hitting its stride, so to speak, a lot of the formations, a lot of personnel groupings, a lot of formations. You see 13 where you'll see like all 3 tight ends on one side. You know what I mean? We saw, tight ends in the backfield, in which Gerald Everett was back there with DeAndre Swift. In the backfield, so that way they can help out on the defensive ends, getting chips on the defensive ends as they release out to their into their routes. We saw Doug Kramer in the backfield finally again, but they changed it up schematically. Like the week before, we saw him in the backfield, he was lined up in the eye. Right, this past week we saw him in a wing formation. So changing things up, I think it's awesome because he's keeping the defense on his toes, but he's also trying to gain an advantage somehow based upon whatever play is called. He's trying to gain a hat in terms of blocking, or he's trying to gain a number or a hat in terms of the route concept called to either side of the defense that they're attacking. So I think it's cool. I think I like what he's done the last few weeks, but I think it really just speaks to the guys, like the offense, starting to click, starting to get their feet under them, so to speak. It's easier for defense to come out and play well than an offense because, like I said, it's been the same thing every year. New scheme, new coach, you know what I'm saying? So, yes, we've gotten all these reps in training camp, but we haven't gotten live reps. We've gotten some preseason reps, but it's been watered down. New quarterback, he's just getting, used to the long play calls. And you see they're starting to understand the playbook more. They're starting to be more comfortable and assertive, and even their calls at the line. We saw, guys making calls at the line. We see Coleman Shelton make a call. yelling, "We got fire," meaning they're going to, bring that nickel blitz he was talking about. And you see Caleb say, "We got it. I got answers for it." So it's the overall them getting them live game reps, and they're getting comfortable and confident in what they're doing. And you see Shane, he's going out there and letting Caleb run with it. They went up tempo. It wasn't as slow. The plays didn't take forever to get in. He's trusting Caleb more to run the offense. And we see Caleb is starting to have a firmer grasp and command of this offense.
No, yeah, and I listen. Ryan Poles talked about that at the press conference. He said he likes the fact that this team had a willingness to make adjustments, and I agree with him on that, right? Because the big thing that really stood out to me about the Luke Getsy era was an unwillingness to change what your style was or what your scheme was to fit the players that you had. There was this continued unwillingness to say, well, it should work. I mean, listen, it worked with Aaron Rodgers. Great, thank you. You mean one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time can run that play? I'm pretty sure that he could. There's probably not many plays that you could throw his way outside of whatever they're doing over there with the Jets with Nathaniel Hackett, which how the heck Robert Saleh get fired? Robert Saleh should have walked in and be like, the defense is fine, dog. Like, what are y'all talking about? But I digress. But, there was an unwillingness to make an adjustment because there was such a belief in, no, this system works. It's how it's going to work. It doesn't matter what we have here. Ryan Poles commended the Bears, first off, for having an open relationship where you can have Matt Eberflus go to his offensive coordinator and say, hey, come here, let me show you this. Yeah, speed option on the goal line. Never run that again. We never need to see that again. The fact that Mercedes Lewis and Caleb Williams and all those guys can go to him and say, hey, listen, we need to make some adjustments here with how we're coaching this. It's no disrespect to you, but we think we need this. That openness and then seeing the adjustment from it. I think that really speaks to a different kind of culture here, or should I say a culture at all being established with this Chicago Bears team, one that I think is one that brewed success. And I mean, listen, you're winning games early on. Yes, I understand it's versus lesser competition, but it feels like this is something sustainable. When I watch Caleb Williams play versus the blitz, versus the pressures that are around him, that feels sustainable. When we watch Shane Waldron's play calling versus the 8-man in the box, that feels sustainable, at least these last couple of games, right? So I feel like these are things when you play the tougher teams, when you play the Green Bay Packers, when you play the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, right? Those are the teams we're all worried about. You kind of go, yeah, we were able to do this versus lesser competition, but we weren't doing anything magical that we can't keep doing.
Yeah, and I think it's right. You look at who they played this week, the Panthers. Yes, it's a team that's struggling. Yes, it's a team that has holes throughout their roster, but you beat a team convincingly the way you were supposed to beat them.
Yeah.
And I think the takeaways from that is you say, okay, the way we've played, are we playing good enough, or is there do we have a identity, or is there something that we can lean on that'll help us beat teams in our division, that'll help us beat the Washington Commanders coming up? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Did we run the ball well enough that would give us a chance to beat a better team like the Washington Commanders coming up after the bye week? You know what I mean? Those are some of the takeaways that I think they'll look at, after watching that film. Did we play well enough to beat, yes, a Jaguars team that's 1-4, but they do have a lot of weapons, a lot of good players on that team. Do we have, did we play well enough, or did we execute well enough to be able to beat a team in London on the road that's played in London the last few years? That's, their home away from home, so to speak. Those are some of the takeaways you take from a lesser opponent when you have a big win like that.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, it's not going to be a cakewalk here in London. I think that, a lot of people view this as it's a team you should beat. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to go out there and get the win. They're not a good football team, very similar to the Panthers. And I'll say this, if this were in Chicago or this was in Jacksonville, well, I don't know, Jacksonville Stadium kind of set up to cook you a little bit. If this were in Chicago, I would say I would probably pick the Bears to win this in a similar fashion. 35, maybe you get 14, maybe you get 17, but still a 30-plus point game, right, in my mind, because they're that bad. Their pass defense, they've fallen all over the place when you watch the tape. Like, it's as somebody who has seen some bad pass defenses, they taking the cake on some of these plays out here. But I think you say all that to say this is a territory they're familiar with, going over there, traveling, being in this environment. And so I still think the Chicago Bears come out of this with a win, but I think it's a lot closer than a lot of people may think. And you're kind of getting yourself into a little bit of an uphill situation here, especially with the injury report coming out that let's see if I can get this off the screen about with the injury report coming out, Teven Jenkins today. So yesterday, J-Mac was basically just a walkthrough, and they were estimating what guys would be doing. Of course, we know Jaquan Brisker was ruled out by Ryan Poles and by Matt Eberflus. But there was an estimation of, okay, this is what guys would have done had this have been a full practice. Today, they got to actually do a full practice. Teven Jenkins listed as a DNP. Mercedes Lewis gets the old man treatment here with the DNP as well. Zach Pickens has been DNP for a couple of days here and a couple of weeks, really. Terrell Smith did not travel with the team. Tyreek Stevenson has been added to this list as limited, but we got to see Kyler Gordon and Jacob Martin, who is he's in that 21-day window now, which is good to hear. So he could come back eligible soon. But both of those guys were full today. But Teven Jenkins is really the name you look at because, J-Mac, this has been a guy who, this is the question. The statement around Teven Jenkins for his entire career is, if Teven Jenkins is healthy. We know what he is as a player. We know what he means to this offensive line when he's healthy. He hasn't been that this season. Are you concerned that he's not going to be able to play in this game?
Yeah, I'm concerned. And I think, if he does end up playing, will he last throughout the entire game? We saw last week he came in, he was banged up, didn't last the entire game. And it's unfortunate, for a guy that has a lot of talent, for a guy who I think, sets the tone. He's the tone setter, in my opinion, on that offensive line in terms of the way he plays a game with his physicality. Not having that on your offensive line, I think, is a huge blow. And, if you, for some reason, if he doesn't play, we saw a young guy come in and make the most of his opportunities, and Bill Murray, he came in and played well. He was good in pass protection. He was physical in the run game. Something that you want to see from a guy, stepping in, filling a huge void. And, the one thing that I would say about Bill Murray is, and I'm not in the huddle, I don't know their scheme, but to me, it didn't seem like he had a lot of missed assignments. It didn't seem like, I going back watching tape, I didn't see him, blocking the wrong person or picking up the wrong guy in protection. I think when their defensive line was running different games and stunts, he was right there, picking up that protection. So I think it's good when you have a young guy like that, a guy who you may not have been counting on, a guy who you may not have had like circled on your roster saying this guy can be a huge contributor this year, and he comes in and plays good football. It's a great find for the Bears right now, especially with the status of Teven Jenkins, the up and down status of Teven Jenkins. But from a player standpoint, I hope that Teven does get healthy, because when healthy, he's a dog. Yeah. He's a great player. And for him, it's a contract year. And looking at it from a player standpoint, from player to player, we want everybody to get paid. We know how hard it is to succeed in this game. You know how much time you put in. It's a grind 365. You're always doing something, even in the offseason, to get better. And from a player-to-player standpoint, I want Teven to get paid. But you won't get paid unless you're out there. You won't get paid unless you're available. And it's just unfortunate, that's been the question mark, on his career since he's been here in Chicago. It's been a question mark in terms of health. So, that remains to be seen. I hope he plays. But like I said, if he does, what's the likely outcome that he is available throughout the entire game? We don't know. We haven't seen.
No, for sure. Yeah, and that's my biggest concern right now. And I think here's even something, right? Like, are you at a point with Teven where you almost, I don't want to say, right, you hold him out of the game, because if he's able to go, he's going to go. He's going to want to be out there. But where you say, listen, we just need you to get healthy. We need you to get right. And you see what you have over there at that left guard position. Because while I don't think, listen, I love Tom Thayer. I think that he accurately assesses offensive linemen based on everything. I listened to him standing next to him in the preseason and in the training camps when we're at practice, and he's talking about what he's seeing on the line. And I'm like, duly noted. And now I'm in the regular season. I'm like, checks out. I kind of saw this coming based on that assessment that I heard through training camp and stuff like that. But do you take a chance here going, you know what, Teven, we need you healthy. We need you to play right. And we need to see what we have on this line. Bill Murray showed us something last week, and we need to see if he can do that versus while the Jaguars are not a great team, better competition though, right?
Yeah.
Can you maintain that technique? What I loved about what Thayer said on with Waddle and Sylvie, I believe he was on with, was that he said the technique was perfect, exactly what you want to see from an offensive lineman. Great anchor. Mindset was perfect. He was mauling guys. Guys were on the ground. There's a guy, right? Braxton ends up missing a guy, but kind of pushes him. He slips, hits the ground. Bill Murray sees him. He's like, he's down there. Might as well hit him. You know what I mean? Just that proper mindset. So do you take that chance just to see, okay, can he keep this going? Because to me, if you can do that and he can play that left guard position and Teven Jenkins actually does get himself healthy and comes back, that's stability on the left side. And we saw what Teven is on the right side next to Darnell Wright. I think then you're able to find a few answers. And now maybe you're back in this position where, Coleman Shelton's played okay last couple of weeks. I love the lead block that he did with the Panther. That's where the 300 pounds comes into play. Did you see him scampering down that right sideline, leading the way, just laying people? I love it, right? But the reality is he's not the guy that you intended to be your starting center. Ryan Bates coming back off of IR, hopefully sooner than later. That just opens up things where if you find a fix at one spot that's stable, I think you can kind of move some pieces around and get to that stability that maybe Ryan Poles thought he was going to have coming into the season.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's if Teven can go, you put Teven in there because he's a starter. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's why he's there. And when he's in, he plays good football. And I'm not trying to discredit what Bill did last week. I thought Bill, he filled in and he played well. And I think you put him in there. You put Teven in there if he's ready to go. Put him in there and let him go. You know what I mean? Because there's still an evaluation that's got to take place. There's and the funny thing is in the NFL, there's side games as well, right? So we're watching this game, right? The Bears want to win, but from a GM standpoint, Ryan Poles is like, well, I need this guy out there because I'm evaluating him to see, whether or not he's going to be back, whether or not we're going to pay him. And Teven knows that too. He wants to get paid. He knows he has to be out there. So, he's going to do everything he can to get out there, one, for his team, and two, because it's that year. it's the payday year. He's got to be out there. So, from my standpoint, if Teven can be out there, I would put him out there. We know Bill can come in and another thing too, another evaluation is if Teven does go down, hope he doesn't, hope he plays, but say something does happen, can Bill come in and do the same thing, like you said, against better competition?
Yeah.
So it's always an evaluation. Everything you do is an evaluation. I think, Bill last week had that evaluation. I think he's going to come out. He had a good grade and they took note of that. And now they know they have another young guy that they can fill in on the interior of that offensive line, which is huge for the Bears, especially in an area that we've struggled with in terms of health and just overall performance the last few years.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, you mentioned Bill Murray's PFF grade there. I mean, this is the best PFF grade any offensive lineman on our team has had this season. I mean, listen, might be going back a couple seasons. They love Braxton Jones, but I don't know if I've seen Braxton with a grade this high. 83.9 overall. He had a pass blocking grade of 85.7, had a run blocking grade of 79.2. That was on 37 snaps played. All 37 of those snaps played at left guard, played 24 passing snaps, 13 running snaps. He was good. He was really, I can't even say, he was great out there.
Yeah. And just
are you great because of, Jadeveon Clowney's not out there anymore.
Right.
They're already missing a ton of pieces on that line. That means that you're better than what they had standing across from you. I already knew that.
Yeah.
I knew what the Panthers had standing across from you. Hey, if they had the full slate of weapons, I knew that you were better than what the Panthers had standing across from you. So I do wonder, if there is that curiosity from Ryan Poles, not to say that he's the one that's calling the shots on who stays and who sits. And I agree. You'll want to see Teven. I would think actually, it's probably more valuable for you to see Teven in a banged up version of himself going out there, because that's the Teven you're going to probably get more times than not if you pay him.
Yeah, I think so. And we'll see. I think it's good that you see, going back to Bill Murray, a young guy come in there and play well. Going into that game, you would have never thought that he would have played that many snaps. You never thought you'd have to put him in. we didn't expect Bill to come in. We expected Teven to come in and play well and finish the game. But having that luxury of being able to put a young guy in, go in there and play well and grade as high as he did, that's a huge positive for the Bears. And, another name on that list I was looking at that's, I think, a huge loss is Jaquan Brisker.
Yes.
You know, a guy who's been playing at a high level, and not just he's been playing at a high level and making plays. But I think the big loss with him is the communication on the back end. And I know you have a veteran safety in Kevin Byrie, but at the same time, it's the feel, right? Kevin's been playing along Jaquan this whole season, so they have a feel for each other in terms of how different coverages are going to play. He has a feel for where Jaquan's going to be in whatever coverage is called, and you know what you got in terms of from a physicality standpoint in the run game with Jaquan. You know, and Elijah Hicks is a great player. That's why he's getting the start. But at the same time, it's a little different. And you know, we can talk about the Jags being wonderful all we want, but the one thing we can't question is their explosiveness on offense. They do have some explosiveness, especially from the running back position, wide receiver position. What'd you say?
And I'm glad you threw that word "some" in there. I was like,
yeah, I mean, but
it can't be explosive.
yeah, I mean, but you look at it. I mean, the last few weeks, you look at Tank Bigsby. He's had 2 explosive runs over 50 yards. I think he had 1 for 65 last week. You know, Brian Thomas, the rookie they drafted at LSU, has had some explosive plays. Christian Kirk's been as a young receiver that's been steady for them as well. So, they have the ability to create plays, right? And you have a quarterback that's going to throw the ball. They're going to put the ball up. And when you have Travis Etienne, in which he likes to dump the ball out to him out in the backfield. So having that communication on the back end is key, right? And I know your front four has been getting better. We know you talked about Javon Dexter a lot.
I love some Javon.
It's gonna be key for that front four to dominate the line of scrimmage, right? Especially when you have a new starter in there. But it's also going to alleviate the pressure that secondary has in terms of covering these guys for a long time. And the whole defense is predicated on that front four getting pressure. If that front four is not getting pressure consistently, especially in critical situations, third downs and second and longs, third and longs, when the defense doesn't work. So I'm interested to see how Elijah Hicks plays and how he fills in for Jaquan.
And you went to Jaquan. To me, the name that screams out at me is Tyreek Stevenson on that list. Him being limited with a calf injury.
I'm not worried about him.
He's scary.
Gonna play. Nah, he's gonna play.
I'm not worried about him playing, but my thing is, what level of player is he going to be? We've seen him, kind of struggle against those big body receivers, and they got one over there in Jacksonville that could really get after you. And the Bears really don't play. They don't really have a DB follow you around, right? So in your mind, you would think that Jalen Johnson is getting the major matchup on Sunday. But realistically speaking, if they want to, they can match up with Jaquan or where Jaquan Brisker was supposed to be with Tyreek Stevenson. They usually play on that same side and say, hey, we're going to attack this. We got our guy with the big body. We're able to move down the field. We only saw one play of Xavier Legette. It was a 9-yard reception.
He got hurt too. He got hurt though. He got hurt
immediately after it, right?
He got hurt. He got hurt and wasn't in the game. So,
but before that, right? I think about the game that Nico Collins had. Not to say that Tyreek wasn't able to fight back, but that seems to be a spot that teams are more willing to attack than the Jalen Johnson side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got a guy that doesn't have as much experience as Jalen Johnson. We know what Jalen Johnson is, right? He's been a shutdown corner, one of the better corners, but he's also a corner that's going to take chances and create takeaways. Tyreek's a younger guy, second year in the system. So yeah, they're going to take advantage or try to take advantage of him. But when I look at that calf limited, that doesn't scare me. He's probably had it the entire season. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's like the thing about this league is nobody's 100%. Everybody's playing with something. And a lot of times it's not disclosed. So everybody has something come out of training camp. You have something that's going to nag you throughout the entire season, but that's what makes you a pro. You have the mindset, the mental toughness, and the physical toughness to play hurt, right? To play hurt, but also not just playing hurt, but putting the best version of yourself out there while you're hurt or while you're trying to overcome that nagging injury. So I'm not worried about that. I think he'll be out there making plays for this defense.
No, for sure. And I think, right, you even think back to that Texans game, right? Nico Collins gets the best of them, gets a touchdown. I finished that with 120 yards, I think it was, on the game.
Yeah.
It was the only touchdown for the game. Tyreek Stevenson also came out of that game with an interception, got his get back, made some big tackles, broke up a couple of screens. So it's not to say that it's an impossible matchup. Him and Brian Thomas Jr., who's starting to figure things out, 3 touchdowns over the last couple of weeks. Really, really starting to build a nice relationship with Trevor Lawrence. But I think it's just that you can kind of see with Tyreek being the big body guy himself matching up, When you get to those 6'4", 6'5" guys, they're more willing to attack you with Tyreek with them than Jalen Johnson with them. And so I do wonder if that's going to be a matchup with Jaquan not on the backside that they're able to take advantage of a little bit more with him, dealing with the calf injury. But it's like you said, right? He's probably been dealing with this for 4 weeks, and now was the first time when he's like, hey, this thing hurt.
Yeah, I mean, just think too. I mean, it's a long trip, long plane ride. You know what I mean? It's a lot of different things that can attest to it. That can make injuries flare up, or injuries that you felt like you had under control that can just start flaring up. I mean, it's football. There's going to be things you have to overcome, and I think Tyreek could be out there making plays. The one thing I think we do got to talk about in this matchup is the running game. Because we saw, Chuba Hubbard have some success against this defense. And yes, they figured it out in the second half, and they shut it down just like they have throughout the entire season. I think Coach Eberflus has done a really good job in halftime adjustments in terms of, okay, let me figure out how this offense is trying to attack us defensively. How do I counterattack that? And I think he's been successful. But, I think this team, you got 2 good running backs in Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne, in which they're going to try to get going. And, I think they have to get going because, yes, you had a lot of success in the passing game last week. I think Trevor Lawrence threw for over 300 and something yards, but you're not playing the Colts defense. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to just be able to drop back and throw the ball 35, 40 times against our defense. So I think they're going to have to try to get this run game going. And I think they probably feel confident that they can get the run game going, seeing some of the success that the Panthers had the first half against the Bears in the run game with Chuba Hubbard. So, we'll see. I mean, the first thing defensively, and Coach Flus always talks about it, is shutting down the run. We got to take something away from him. Well, if I can shut down the run and I can make Trevor Lawrence have to drop back and put the ball in the air 35, 40 times a game, well, we've seen that version of Trevor Lawrence, right? Yeah. That version of Trevor Lawrence turns the ball over. He's not comfortable, especially when we can get him rattled in the pocket and we are having success with our front four, or if we do bring a safety or a linebacker to add more pressure to him, he's going to make mistakes. He's going to force the ball. In this Bears defense, as we've seen time and time again, get takeaways, but not just takeaways, timely takeaways in critical situations.
Yeah, no, and I think here's the thing, right? I am, by the way, welcome to the rest of the world, into the era of where I've been probably since the second year. Trevor Lawrence is not a good quarterback, but welcome. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that's crazy, right?
When your stats are comparable to Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones's are almost better. I'm just saying, perception is reality. I get it. Flowing locks. Yeah, I mean, he's out there, smile, strong arms, ripped, can throw it a mile to the other team. I'm just saying. But no, I think. Yeah. Here's kind of where I'm at, especially with the run game. You mentioned that this would be a week that I think would really speak to, okay, do we have real concerns with where our run defense is at? Because last week, big run, beginning of the game with Chuba Hubbard, really didn't see any more big runs after that. A couple of nice pops here and there, but for the most part, you kind of shut him down. Week before that, Kyren Williams got after you. That's the one where I'm like, he got after you.
Yeah.
Week before
Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Taylor.
See, I feel like Jonathan Taylor got after the defense after the offense screwed up.
Yeah, they wore down.
You know what I mean? They're a little more wore down. All of a sudden, he's still Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how bad the football team is. He's Jonathan Taylor back there. And so you know what you're going to get, especially if you can't bring your best and he's bringing his best. So I think that, this is a week to me where it's like, okay, I've got a question mark here. He cooked you. He had a play, but he really didn't do much for you. If they get the running game going between Etienne and Bigsby this week, because Bigsby, even him, right, one big run last week of 68 yards.
Yeah.
He finished the day with 12 more carries and ended up finishing with 101 yards. Not a crazy day running the football for him. Travis Etienne has been abysmal. I mean, he's been, as a fantasy owner, you know what I mean? Yeah, he's been unplayable.
If you're getting points per reception, then he did a little something for you, because I mean that's the safety valve that Trevor looks to in the passing game. If he doesn't like what he sees, he dumps it down to Travis Etienne. But even after that, like, he's getting the check down, but he's not getting yards after it. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, and in the run game, he's been a non-factor. That's why they've started to lean more on Tank Bigsby, who's had more success than Travis has the last few weeks, especially.
No, yeah. So I think at the end of the day, if we see a big running game from Jacksonville in this game, I probably come here next week and go, J Mac, we got some concerns on this run defense. They are really getting after us. Like 4 weeks in a row of somebody popping off. It's not just, it's a fluke. That's a weakness. You know what I mean? And so I think that this would be a good test for that. On the flip side of it, though, I do agree with you. You know, Trevor Lawrence, if you can stop this run, Trevor Lawrence is begging you to take the football from him.
Yes.
I mean, he's I don't know how much of the all 22 from Jacksonville you've watched, J Mac, but there are throws that don't even get picked off. And he's like, please take it. I don't want to be out here anymore. Like that was a dime for you. Like I gave you a layup. Like I will say this, as somebody who has been on the Trevor Lawrence is not good train, he's so much worse this season than I have ever seen him. And that includes his rookie year where he looked absolutely confused out there. And of course, Urban Meyer on the team and all of that. It is a wild situation, but he looks worse than I've ever seen him in an NFL uniform. And this is coming from somebody that's like, you got to prove it to me that you're talented.
Yeah. And I think one thing to look at too, when we're looking at this, right, there's a lot of factors, outside factors that will contribute to this game. Right. And it's just based upon the preparation, where the game's being played, the travel, getting acclimated, and all those things are going to play a huge factor in this game, right? You look at this Bears team, a team who has not had a lot of success on the road, and you're really on the road this week. You know what I mean? You're in another country, and they played well at home. Yeah, they've got a win streak at home, but on the road it's been tough sledding. And I just, with the travel, different accommodations, the type of practices that you're having, everything's different. Yes, you're trying to, make the routine as close as what it would be here, back over here at Hallis Hall, but it's different, totally different. Guys away from their families are not going home, seeing their families after practice or in a hotel all week. Everything's different. So, and it's a team that hasn't been over, playing in London in a while, and you have a Jacksonville team that has, it's become a ritual for them. It's become just another road game. So I think this is a great test for this team early. Especially with the troubles we've had on the road. Well, let's really give you a road game and see how you respond to it. Coming off of a win, it's a win that you should have, but after you win, everybody's patting you on the back. Huh? What'd you say?
I said a win nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. It's a win, but everybody's patting you on the back. Everybody's saying, oh, good job. This Bears team can be this. They can be this. Like, don't overlook Jacksonville. You got to get this one. You get the bye week, and then you got to really go to DC and take on a really good Commanders team. So that's what I hope, that this team can remain focused, continue at the task at hand, play one game at a time, and can we win a road game? Even though we're the home team, you're still on the road.
No, yeah, and this is going to be a road game. I mean, Jacksonville has been they've been playing in London, what, 5 years now?
Man, they
got the fan base over there.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like they're used to it. Like I mean, when's the last time this team stayed in the hotel for a week? Well, they really haven't. If you look back, when you look back and you break it down, it's dating back to last year when they had a joint practice with the Colts. They were up in Indy for a whole week, right? Because in training camp, you stayed at Hallis Hall. Like you weren't away for training camp. So it's a different dynamic. And I'm interested to see how we respond. How do we come out? Do we come out lethargic? Do we come out with some energy? Do we start fast? I think those are all things that will contribute to whether or not the Bears, come out of London with a victory.
It's of course not right. It's not you guys flying to London, but was there a trip that you, if you were playing that team, you went, the trip's going to beat us up more than this team is. We got to be more mentally ready than going out there to play y'all.
Yeah, I would say it's the Cardinals game back then, the one where we actually came back and won. We look at us offensively, we were terrible. Yeah. And it was, you get there, the time change. It was a night game. You had more time off. Long plane ride. Like I said, it was different. You know what I mean? Like you go out there and you feel like you're ready to play until you get out there. You're like, damn, why am I so tired? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, we can't do nothing right. Nothing's clicking. Like the mojo's off, the mood's off, like everything's off. So those are key things that you don't really have answers to. Or you don't see answers, coming out until the game actually starts. So, I mean, you got a young team too. You got a young quarterback that's, hasn't had a road trip like this. How is he going to respond? You know, he's already on a different team, different teammates, a different environment. He's still getting used to that. And now he's in London, you know, trying to lead a team, trying to get used to that environment, you know, trying to make sure that his offense is ready to play, trying to make sure they can keep their foot on the gas and, you know, continue building upon what they've done the last few weeks. So I'm interested to see how this team responds, you know, especially to start this game.
He cracks me up because everybody's like, you know, have you been to London before? Have you? And it's like, y'all know he got an NIL deal, right? He's like,
right. He started naming.
I've been here a couple times. You know, it's nothing crazy.
You saw he blew like the big names out. He's like, I've been to Monaco. I'm like, well, damn.
Well, he didn't even want to. They was pushing him. He was like, nah, I've been here before. You know, I've been here before. Right. And then they like, well, where have you been? Have you been to France? Have you seen the Eiffel Tower?
I'm not knocking. I just thought it was cool, man. Like Caleb, he's a slick guy, man. He's just smart. He's calculated. He's smart, man. He's like, hey, man, you know, this is just London, man. I've been to Monaco. This is just London. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to get London. Back to Italy, dog. You see what they eating over there, dog?
Right,
food.
Right. They're not eating fish and chips, man. They're eating shit. Like, this is, man.
Hey, somebody, I'm telling you, dog. There's it's a YouTube channel, but I always see like their TikToks and Instagram, and it's just like British people eating American food, and then like American people eating British food. And fam, every time they bring that British food out, I'm like, no disrespect to the culture, this is y'all thing, but I'm like, I don't need to go over there. Cause I'm traveling. I'm fat boy at heart. I'm trying to kill the fat the designer stigma out here. Yeah, I mean, I'm lifting weights in the gym, J Mack.
Who calls you that? What they call you?
In the comments, dog. They be in the comments. Say, hey, I was big out here. I ain't gonna lie. When I started getting big, somebody hit me with that's why I was on that cleanse 2 weeks later. Somebody was like, boy, you starting to look like fat the designer. I was like, that's a great joke. That's a great joke.
People are funny, man. Golly.
Hey, I said, let me get this together. I got a second kid on the way, man. You know, you ain't gonna do nothing but eat during that. I gotta drop this weight. So, man. But no, listen, I'm traveling for the food, dog. That's every time I see that they bring out like a plate of cold beans and a biscuit.
Yeah, haggis soup. Your haggis soup, and they put vinegar on their French fries. Like what? What are you doing? You see that they put fish and chips.
Vinegar on the French fries.
Vinegar on the French fries, bro. It's crazy, man. Yeah.
There's so many jokes I was about to drop, but they were all in this show. Hey, man, let's finish it off with this. What is your prediction for this game? Bears have a little bit of an uphill battle. Of course, we talked about the time change, different things like that. But do you think the Bears can still come out of this with the dub?
I think so. I mean, we got the better team. You know, Jacksonville, yes, they just won. They beat a team that we lost to. I think that this offense is really starting to come together. I think they're starting to have a firmer grasp on the scheme. Despite Jaquan being out, I think this defense is just really good. And I trust who's calling the defense, and Coach Flus and Coach Washington have done a great job all year. So I'm going to go with the Bears. I'm going to say 24-14, the Bears. I think Caleb has another good day. I think Swift, I think they're, like I said before, you know, on our post-game show, I think they found the formula in terms of how to utilize Swift in the right times in which to utilize Roschon Johnson. And, you know, I think this game, though, here's one prediction I'll make, though, Pat. You know, we've seen Rome get off. We've seen DJ get off. We haven't seen Keenan have a day yet. And, you know, I think it's time that, you know, I think Keenan will have a day. And it could be either one of them guys. They're all great receivers. Rome's trying to be a great receiver. You know, Keenan has the resume that shows he's a great receiver. DJ is ascending to being one of the great receivers. So I think it's Keenan's time. I think it's going to be Keenan's turn this game.
No, 100%. I'm trying to pull this up. It was on PFF today, and it was a stat that basically showed the wide receivers that get the most separation in the NFL based on how many routes they run that can allow them separation. Here it is. Keenan Allen was actually 20th on this list, and I definitely just scroll past his name. Give me a second here to find him, because I thought what was interesting was, and now I can't find his name at all. I'm down to Darnell Mooney. Hold on now. Too far, Pat, too far. What I thought was interesting about the list was that, you know, led by Drake London, he's had 20 snaps where he got separation on 22 opportunities to get separation. Yeah, here it is. Keenan Allen on 11 opportunities to get separation, has gotten separation on 8 of those, basically an above 70% clip for Keenan Allen. So when you run him on those routes, those deep routes, those opportunities for him to say, I'm going to get away from you, he still has the ability to do it. And I know that was a question mark. People are like, Keenan Allen looks like he's lost the step. He looks like he can't figure it. He ain't lost nothing. It's just about, can you get the ball to him? Where is he in the progression? We've talked about it, right? Everybody can't get the ball that week. I understand DJ Moore, people want him to be the number one every week. This probably will be the week where it's going to be Keenan Allen or Rome Odunze because of the game that DJ Moore just came off of. You think they're not going to go, let's take away the young guy's best weapon?
100%, man. It's gonna be fun to see, man. The good thing is bright and early. See the Bears, hopefully get a victory. And I know we're gonna talk about it after. So really excited to see this game. But Bears 24-14, bear down, baby.
Hey, listen, I'm after that game, because it's such an early game, I'm doing steaks after at the crib. So if you want to come through, a couple tomahawks, do some shrimp, some crab legs. We're gonna make a night of it, dog.
Celebration barbecue. I like it, man. Do it big, Pat.
Hey, gotta do it big, man. And guess what? I got something brown on deck, but they don't sponsor the show, so we get that. If we ever get that, we got to get a yak sponsor. I keep pushing this to the sales team. As much yak as this team gets, and we got to give our yak player of the day, brought to you by somebody with a cognac out here, dog. Come on, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Hey, man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. For Jason McKie, it's your boy Pat, the designer, back at it again. My prediction is that the Chicago Bears get a win, 24. I said 17. I give them a little more competitive game here, 24-17. But the Bears come away with another Bear dub. Big Bear Dons in the chats below. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Y'all stay safe by the Chicago. Bear down. One love.
Bear down.